Episode 3. Hey, welcome back to the Beginner's Trapping Series. In episode 1, we talked about what kind of trap you're going to buy. Obviously, that's up to you, but whatever kind of trap you're going to get. In episode 2, we talked about anchoring systems. And in this, we're going to talk about basic trapping tools. So you're going to want to go out there and make a set. What kind of stuff do you need? I'm going to keep this real brief. I'm going to go through just the basics for land trapping. So this episode is just the basics for land trapping. So let's start off. First thing that's very important about trapping, scent is important. So when I very first started trapping, I pretty much wore a hazmat suit to make my sets. That was unnecessary. I didn't need to do that. As time has advanced, I've learned that your smell does matter, but it's not extremely critical. So some people will disagree with me on that, but I've caught coyotes a bunch of different ways. It's important not to leave a lot of your scent behind, but if you think that you're going to fool that coyote completely into not realizing you're there, you are a fool, because they definitely could smell that you were there. So wear good gloves. And at the end of this, I'll put links and show some pictures of all the websites that I got these from. I get Cold Creek gloves. I believe they're from F&T. This one's kind of like I think this is a 16-inch style glove. Rubber. It's not very well insulated, but I mean, it's warm enough. But once hard winter sets in, this glove doesn't work. But I use this for, you know, traps that are near water at the beginning of the season. But as the season dredges on, I tend to use these. These are a little bit warmer. And sometimes I even have to go with a thicker glove, but you got to get a good pair of gloves. It's important to have rubber or latex or something that is not going to promote your smell in that set area. Now, depending on the kind of weather you have and the kind of conditions you have can really depend on if you're going to wear a light glove. I mean, if you're in an area where it's really hot and you're setting traps, you don't want something that's going to make you sweat a bunch, because they're going to smell that. All right, next thing, we'll go with this kneeling pad. This is not necessary. I mean, you can go make sets without it, but it's nice if you're setting a lot of traps. It's good to have one of these just for that extra bit of cushion to prevent your knees from hurting, because I'm telling you, when you're on the ground all day long setting traps, you're putting out 30, 40, 50 traps in one day, you're going to be sore. So I buy these. A lot of people think this is for scent control, but I've tested it. I've even just put a garbage bag, like a brand new garbage bag, scent-free garbage bag. I've laid it on the ground, and I don't notice much of a difference, but I do carry this. It's lightweight, easy to carry. Once again, I'll show you the links at the end. A good trapping hammer. This is just a basic 3-pound hammer with a chisel tip on the back side of it. This is really good for pounding out your trap beds. If it's really cold out, this is good for digging. You're gonna be pounding your stakes with it. It's almost, in my opinion, unless you're running drags, it's pretty much impossible to set traps without a really good hammer. There's so many different options when it comes to this. Yes, you could use your basic Home Depot or Lowe's hammer, but in my opinion, this is the best. Having that perfect chisel point on the end of that really works for just digging up that sod, busting everything up. It just works just perfect. I use this auger for making dirt holes. This is a 2-inch auger. I put it just in a drill. I have no preference in drill. It doesn't matter to me what you use, but I'll use this auger to do my dirt holes, and it's really fast. The only thing you got to watch, I'm in a pretty rocky area, so better have a good grip on that drill, because when you start going, if you hit a rock or just catch the edge of a rock, it's going to want to take you for a ride. But what I like about it is it makes a perfect hole, and what I hate about it is it makes a perfect hole. Sometimes it looks a little bit unnatural, so I'll end up sticking one of my rods, like my support rods that I would pound in my earth anchor. I'll stick it in that hole sometimes and mess it up. But I use this for dirt holes all the time. Here's a trowel. Some people really like these. I do not use this at all. This thing is rusted just from sitting outside. I used it for my first season and really didn't like it. You might like it. I mean, it might be your thing. Some people like to dig out their holes with this, you know, for their dirt holes. Some people will actually dig out their trap beds with it. It just seemed like another cumbersome tool to me, but hey, different strokes for different folks. Maybe that's something that you would like. So they have lots of different sizes on trowels. They have some that have like a serrated edge for chopping sticks and little branches, for things like that. So you have that. Here's another tool that some people don't care to use. I like it. I use it a lot, as you can tell. This portion of this tool is supposed to be level, but it's completely beat in. I use a Bridger No. 2 dogless trap, a square jaw. So I bought this thing. It's called a cookie cutter, and I like it because I could just take it out of the truck, the quad, whatever I'm using, put it on the ground, pound on it, and I get a perfect trap bed each time. Now, as long as I don't hit a rock or a root, and I could dig, once it gets down to this level right here, once that's below the dirt, then I know my trap bed is deep enough for whatever I'm going to be using, whether that's wax dirt, peat moss, coveralls. We'll talk about that kind of stuff in a later video about waterproofing your traps, or weatherproofing, should I say. But that's a cookie cutter. It's another thing that I like to use. I don't know if I mentioned this yet, but a sifter. If you're brand new to trapping and you're unfamiliar on why you would need a sifter, once that trap is in the ground and you're going to cover it up, you don't want to cover it with, like, around here I get clay. And if clay gets wet, it just turns into it's like a real thick Play-Doh almost. And it's going to prevent my trap from firing, especially if it gets frozen. So whenever you have that trap down and you're covered with dirt, you're using a sifter to put a nice thin coat of dirt on there with a dirt that's going to easily allow that trap to explode out of the ground to catch that animal. So that's the point of why you would need a sifter. The last one, here we go, one more thing. These are coveralls. Well, actually, these ones are underalls. I'm going to do a video specifically on how to set a trap and all the different options out there. But all this is a piece of foam that I put underneath my trap pan. Once again, watching the weather, this is underneath my pan, which would normally be filled with dirt, but I'm putting this in place of the dirt. And my whole trap's buried under the ground. This is underneath the pan. And when that coyote steps on that pan, this foam is going to allow that pan to drop no matter the weather. And when it drops, that trap's going to go off. If you just leave it empty or put dirt down there, there's a lot of times where it will get clogged and that animal will stand on it and that trap cannot fire. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to check my traps in especially my first season, and my traps were fired or only one jaw was fired just because of freezing. What I found out is an animal will step on that pan and engage it like it should fire, but it can't move enough, or the jaws can't come out of the ground because of the weather. And later in the day, as it gets warmer, then the trap goes off. So you don't want that to happen. The last thing I want to cover, in episode 1 we had traps, episode 2 we had anchors, and this are the two connection methods that I use to connect my anchor to my trap. This is a split ring, and if you've been watching any of my episodes, you should go back and check out, I believe it was episode 9, I think I titled it The Great Escape, and on that episode you're going to see a coyote break one of these and run away from me. All it really did was stretch this thing out. Now, did my cable get behind one of these edges? I don't know. This thing's supposed to work like a keychain. That was the first time I ever had a problem with it, but hey, that was a problem, and a nice coyote got away. So my favorite thing to use are these quick links. Quick disconnect, whatever you want to call them, but this is a 3/16 quick disconnect, and all it really does is, spin around, back and forth. That's it. You open it up, slide your cable in there in your chain, and then you close it up. It's very simple to use, very easy. Now, as the season wears on and this thing gets tattered and torn and rusted up, this will become a lot harder to rotate. You might need a pair of pliers to move it, but other than that, that's the only problem I've ever had with these. I've never lost an animal by one of these breaking or bending. These have always held strong with all the abuse that they go through. I want to thank you guys so much for checking out this episode. If you're not subscribed to Bonehead Trapping, you should consider it. I'm trying to stretch out to numerous different platforms and do a little bit something different on each. I got a TikTok account for Bonehead Trapping, the same name, on Instagram, and I have this YouTube channel. TikTok I don't do much on, because every time I put anything about a video on there, they say that it is animal cruelty, and they're all over it. So yeah, I have my problems with them. Instagram's pretty cool. They allow me to put trapping photos on there, but TikTok's pretty rough. But I just want to thank you guys so much again for watching this channel, keeping it going. I'm going to try to get back to a regular schedule with the trapping videos. God bless, tight chains, and I'll see you all in the next one.